My name is Edna Sims. I'm 32 years old, and until a week ago, I thought I'd built the kind of life people post about: beach proposals, perfect weddings, families smiling under soft lighting. I thought I had made it. I thought love was something you could secure if you just worked hard enough to deserve it. A week ago, I was a newlywed. Today, I'm something else entirely. I met Aiden Cole at a company mixer 2 years ago. He was 29 then. Sharp suit, easy smile, the kind of man who knew exactly how to disarm you with charm. He worked in sales at a tech firm, smart enough, funny enough. He said I made him feel steady, like he finally had someone who understood him. My parents adored him. My sister thought he was perfect. And me? I fell for the fantasy. Hard. He proposed on a beach during a weekend trip to Florida. Sunset, champagne, some stranger he bribed to take photos. I cried. I said yes. I posted it online and watched the likes explode. His friends cheered. His mom cried happy tears over FaceTime, and the wedding planning began. That's where the first seeds of doubt sprouted. 6 months into planning, I realized I was paying for everything. Venue, catering, photography, decor. Every invoice ended up in my inbox. Every time I asked about his contribution, he'd smile and say he was saving up for the honeymoon. I let it go. I wanted the day to be perfect. I wanted love to mean something. I told myself partnership meant sacrifice. By the time the wedding arrived, my savings account looked like a crime scene. $50,000 gone. But it was beautiful. I stood at the altar, staring down the aisle as Aiden walked toward me with that glittering smile, and I let myself believe. Believe I'd made the right choice. Believe he loved me. Believe this was the start of forever. We married on a Saturday. The next weekend, we hosted a family dinner in our backyard, our first married couple tradition. My parents were there. His parents. My sister Lena and her 2 kids. Aunts, uncles, 15 people total. I grilled. He played host. Normal, warm, comforting. My 6-year-old nephew Milo, chaotic, loud, adorable, was sitting beside me, legs kicking under the table as he devoured his second burger. Milo is the kind of kid who narrates life out loud, the kind who asks questions nobody can prepare for, the kind who blurts the truth the way adults wish they could. He took a bite, wiped ketchup on his shirt, looked straight at Aiden, then at me. Aunt Edna, why was Uncle Aiden kissing that lady at the wedding? The world froze. Forks dropped. Conversations died. My brain stopped making sense. I stared at Milo, waiting for him to laugh, to say he was joking, something, anything. What? I managed. Milo swung his legs, totally unbothered. Behind the white flower thing, the gazebo, Uncle Aiden was kissing a pretty lady in a sparkly dress. My mom gasped. Lena's eyes widened. Aiden turned pale, then flushed red, then pale again, like someone unplugged and replugged his soul. I swallowed hard. Milo, Lena said softly. Sweetheart, what do you mean? Milo shrugged. I was looking for the bathroom. Uncle Aiden was kissing the lady with the long hair. They were kissing a lot. Aiden's jaw tightened. His hand trembled around his glass. Aiden? I whispered. His eyes darted everywhere except toward me. Milo continued cheerfully. Her dress was pushed up funny too. The table collectively inhaled. I felt something inside me crack. Quiet, but devastating. A sound only I could hear. My mother set down her fork. My father stared at Aiden like he'd never met him. Aiden's parents stiffened. And then Lena's voice, soft, careful, terrified. Milo, do you know who the lady was? The one who hugged Uncle Aiden before the ceremony. The tall one with the red dress. Milo said it like it was obvious. My stomach dropped so hard I felt nauseous. I knew that dress. I knew that woman. Serena Vaughn, Aiden's ex-girlfriend. She'd shown up uninvited, claiming she just wanted to support him on his big day. I remembered how she hugged him too tightly, how she looked me up and down like she was measuring competition. Aiden brushed it off, said I was overthinking. I wasn't overthinking. I was being replaced. Well, I said to Aiden, my voice barely above a whisper, say something. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. His hands were shaking. Aiden, I repeated, look at me. Finally, he did. His eyes were glassy, panicked, guilty. Is Milo telling the truth? Dead silence. Then, it was one time, he choked. It didn't mean anything. We got emotional. At our wedding, I said. Aiden, at our wedding? He ran a hand through his hair. Edna, I'm sorry. I didn't know how to tell you. 3 months, Milo interrupted. Mom, they were kissing for a long time. I counted to 30. My world detonated. Everyone leave, I said, surprising even myself with how calm I sounded. Now. Edna, my mother whispered. Now. People scrambled, chairs scraped. The atmosphere turned funeral cold. My parents hugged me before leaving. Aiden's mom tried to approach him, but I blocked her with a look alone. Within minutes, the yard emptied. Aiden sat there staring at me, broken in a way I didn't recognize. Edna, he whispered. I didn't answer. Please, I messed up. I didn't mean for it to go that far. Serena she said she needed closure. We kissed and it got out of hand. So you hooked up with your ex behind the gazebo where a 6-year-old could see you? His silence was deafening. I stood, walked into the house, grabbed 2 suitcases and returned. I tossed them at his feet. Pack, you're leaving. You can't do this, he sputtered. This is our home. I laughed. Sharp, humorless. Check the lease. Your name isn't on it. You moved in 8 days ago. His face crumpled. Edna, I love you. Then you shouldn't have kissed her. I didn't sleep with her, he choked. Yet, I said, get out. He begged, he cried, he grabbed at air like drowning might reverse gravity. But eventually, he packed. He walked out with both suitcases. He drove away. I locked the door behind him, slid down to the floor, and let myself finally break. That night, I opened my laptop, typed in divorce attorney near me, and started planning the rest of my life without him. Morning came like a punishment. Too bright, too honest. My head felt heavy, my stomach hollow. I hadn't slept. I'd sat in the dark replaying every version of Aiden's guilty expression until I couldn't differentiate memory from nightmare. By 8 a.m., I was sitting in a family law office downtown, clutching a folder of documents so tightly the edges dug into my palms. The receptionist spoke gently, like she knew something awful had driven me there. My attorney, Martin Harrow, ushered me into his office. He had the steady presence of someone who'd walked hundreds of people through emotional minefields. Start from the beginning, he said. So I told him everything. The wedding, the kiss, the confession, the public humiliation, the prenup. My voice broke twice, but he didn't interrupt. He just listened, really listened, like each detail was a piece of evidence, not a shard of my life. When I handed him the prenup, he read it twice, expression shifting from neutral to impressed. This, he said finally, is one of the strongest prenups I've seen. I blinked hard. Is that good or bad? Good. Very good. It means your divorce will be clean. You own the house. You paid for the wedding. He gets nothing. And because adultery is explicitly listed as a forfeiture trigger, he has no claim to spousal support or joint assets. The tension in my shoulders loosened, just slightly. And because the wedding occurred in North Carolina, he continued, you have standing for an alienation of affection claim. What now? It allows you to sue the person who interfered in your marriage. In this case, Serena Vaughn. I stared. You mean I can sue her? For damages, yes. Emotional distress, economic loss, punitive damages, especially since the affair happened on the day of the wedding. North Carolina courts take that very seriously. Something inside me steadied, not healed, just steadied. What do you want to do? Martin asked. I want to fight, I said. All of it. He nodded. Then we'll file everything today. And he did. By the end of the week, both Aiden and Serena were served. Aiden's panic begins. Aiden called me that night. Not crying this time. Angry. Desperate. Edna, what is this? You're divorcing me? You're suing Serena? You cheated on me at our wedding, I said. Actions have consequences. The prenup isn't fair. My lawyer says we can challenge it. You had your own attorney approve it before signing. It's enforceable. You're ruining my life over one mistake. One? I repeated. You kissed your ex behind a gazebo while guests were arriving. A child watched you. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. He tried apologizing again. Too little, too late, but I hung up. Serena makes her move. 2 days later, a text appeared from an unknown number. Unknown. If you think you can ruin my life because your marriage fell apart, think again. Another message. He came to me. Maybe worry about why he left you standing alone at your own wedding. A third. Good luck, sweetheart. You're out of your league. I felt ice move through me. I forwarded the messages to Martin immediately. His response came fast. Save everything. She's admitting knowledge of the marriage. This strengthens your case. The break-in. On Thursday, I returned home exhausted, emotionally raw, ready to collapse. As I reached for the lock, my heart stopped. The door was already unlocked. I froze. I always lock it, even when taking out the trash. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I pushed the door open slowly, listening for movement. Silence. But the air felt disturbed, like the echo of someone else's breathing still lingered. The living room appeared untouched. So did the kitchen. My wallet and laptop were on the table where I left them. But a dread I couldn't explain pulled me down the hallway. The spare room, the one place in the house that truly felt like mine, was open. I kept that door closed at all times, climate-controlled, organized, protected. I stepped inside. My world fell apart again. Every display case was open, every shelf empty. My collection, limited edition art prints, rare comics from my grandfather, signed memorabilia I'd spent 15 years curating, was gone. Not misplaced, not shifted, gone. Then I saw the writing on the wall. Thick black marker, aggressive strokes, too large, too loud. Let's see how much your pretty little pictures matter when I'm done with them. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My chest tightened until it hurt to stay still. And then my phone buzzed. Unknown. Miss your stuff yet? Maybe I'll sell it. Maybe not. Depends on my mood. Unknown. You ruined my life, now I ruin yours. My vision went white around the edges. I called the police with shaking hands. They arrived quickly, 2 officers who immediately understood the gravity of what they were seeing. This was deliberate, the older officer said. Not random. Someone knew exactly what they were after. The only person who knew what was in this room, I whispered, is my ex, Aiden. Did he still have a key? I never got it back. They took photos, bagged the marker, dusted for prints. They moved efficiently, speaking in low tones, occasionally casting me a look of sympathy that made my throat tighten. This collection is insured? The younger officer asked. For about $65,000. He let out a low whistle. This is felony-level theft, and the threat puts us into extortion territory. They left after an hour, promising to run the fingerprints immediately. I sat on the hallway floor, hugging my knees, feeling like my life was being stripped piece by piece. 2 hours later, my phone rang. It was the officer. We have a match, she said. Fingerprints all over the room, DNA on the marker. It's Aiden Cole. I closed my eyes. What happens now? We're issuing a warrant for his arrest tonight, and once he's in custody, we'll execute a search warrant. If your collection is still intact, we'll find it. For the first time in days, I exhaled without shaking. I wasn't safe yet, but for the first time since my wedding day, it felt like justice was finally on my side. By the time morning arrived, everything felt unreal, like I was drifting through a story that couldn't possibly belong to me. But the police weren't confused. They were certain. Their voices were calm and sharp when they called just after sunrise. Aiden has been arrested, the officer said. We're executing the search warrant now. My heart slammed. Will you find my collection? We're looking. We'll be in touch as soon as we finish processing the scene. I hung up, sat on my couch, and wrapped a blanket around my shoulders, even though the house was warm. I didn't know if I wanted them to call quickly or not at all. The thought of seeing those items again, my grandfather's signed issues, the prints I'd saved for years to buy, was almost too much to imagine. Then the phone rang again. We found most of your collection, the officer said. It was hidden in the garage at Aiden's parents' home, packed in boxes. We're cataloging everything. I pressed a hand to my mouth. A sob escaped before I could swallow it. It appears intact. We'll compare it against your insurance documentation. She kept talking, but I barely heard the words. My shoulders shook with relief. Almost everything was coming home. Almost everything he tried to destroy would survive him. Aiden breaks again. That evening, after the police took him into custody, he called from the county jail. I stared at the unknown number. For a moment, my thumb hovered over the decline button. Then I answered. He sounded small, frantic. Edna, please listen. I didn't mean to hurt you. You stole $65,000 of my property, I said flatly. You broke into my home. I wasn't stealing. I was protecting your stuff. I thought you'd... Cut the lies. He inhaled sharply. Serena said you were going to take everything from me. She said the only way to get through to you was to scare you. My stomach dropped. Serena convinced you to break in? She said you wouldn't back off unless I showed you I wasn't letting you ruin my life. Aiden, I whispered, I didn't ruin your life. You did. His voice cracked. I miss you. I love you. I don't know why everything went so wrong. I closed my eyes. It went wrong when you kissed your ex during our vows, I said. Everything after that was just the fallout. He begged, cried, and promised he'd make it right. I hung up. Martin, my attorney, confirmed what the police already knew. You have overwhelming evidence, he said. This is no longer just divorce. This is a criminal case. Burglary, grand larceny, and extortion. And Serena? I asked. We'll get to her soon. The alienation case is building beautifully. Search warrant results. 2 days later, the police finished their cataloging. They recovered nearly my entire collection, matching each item to the photographs and insurance binder I'd provided. When the officer read off the list over the phone, my voice trembled. The signed issue from my grandfather? Recovered. The limited run print with the red border? Recovered. The framed original sketch? Recovered. I sagged against the wall, tears sliding down my cheeks. The only things missing were a few small items. Nothing financially devastating, just sentimental. The officer thought Aiden might have tried to hide them in his car or gave them to someone to hold. They'd keep looking. But the core of my collection, the heart of it, was intact. It felt like getting a piece of myself back. The enemy reacts. Serena's reaction came next. A new text from another unknown number. You think you're winning? You think you can tear us apart? Just wait. He'll come back to me. He always does. I forwarded it to Martin. His response? Excellent. This shows intent and obsession. It helps the alienation case significantly. But another message followed seconds later. You deserve everything that's coming. The skin on my arms prickled. There was something unhinged about her tone, something that felt like she wasn't threatening legal consequences. She was threatening me. Court begins. Aiden's arraignment came fast. He stood before the judge unshaven, exhausted, eyes darting between me and the floor. The prosecutor listed the charges. And first-degree burglary, grand larceny over $50,000, extortion, violating a no-contact order from the threatening messages. Aiden's public defender tried painting him as emotional rather than malicious. The judge wasn't convinced. Mr. Cole, he said, these are serious offenses. Your behavior escalated after being served divorce papers. You appear unable to follow court orders or respect the law. Bail is set at $50,000. Aiden's parents posted it within 24 hours. Huge mistake, because 48 hours later, he contacted me again, breaking his bail conditions. Another unknown number buzzed as I was making tea. You couldn't let it go. You had to send me to jail. You're a monster. This isn't over, not even close. I sent them to the police, to the prosecutor, to Martin. Within hours, Aiden was arrested again. A bail revocation hearing happened the next morning. The prosecutor read the messages aloud in court. Aiden pleaded. His parents sobbed. The judge barely looked up. Bail is revoked, he said coldly. The defendant will remain in custody until trial. Aiden's face went ghost white as officers cuffed him. He mouthed something at me. I didn't bother reading it. The criminal trial. 4 months later, the courtroom smelled of old wood and anxious sweat. Reporters weren't allowed, but the gallery was full. Neighbors, co-workers, curious strangers. Aiden sat beside his attorney, pale and trembling. The prosecution presented everything. And fingerprints, DNA on the marker, photographs of the ransacked room, inventory of stolen items, the threatening texts, my insurance documentation, the police recordings, the recovered collection in evidence bags. The officer testified calmly, describing the break-in in detail. Then it was my turn. I approached the stand with trembling hands. Every eye followed me. I told the truth, that I had loved Aiden once, that I trusted him, that I never imagined he could destroy something he knew meant so much to me. The room was silent when I finished. Then Aiden testified. His defense? He wanted to protect my items. He thought I would hurt him financially, so he acted out of fear. The prosecutor shredded him. You stole $65,000 in property, she said. You threatened to burn it. You wrote a threat on her wall. You violated bail. How is any of this protection? Aiden stammered, sweated, contradicted himself. His parents cried quietly. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Verdict, guilty on all counts. When they read it, Aiden broke. His face crumpled like paper. He looked at me with a mixture of shock, betrayal, and something like pleading. But I didn't feel pity, not anymore. The judge ordered restitution of the collection's value, sentencing to 5 years, with possibility of 3 for good behavior. Restitution would follow him forever. As he was led away, Aiden whispered something I couldn't quite hear. The door closed behind him, and the air finally felt clear again. But the battle wasn't over. Serena was next. If Aiden's trial felt like closing a wound, the alienation of affection's suit against Serena Vaughn was ripping off the scab. She showed up to the courthouse looking like she was walking a red carpet, not facing a lawsuit that could financially ruin her. Her hair was styled in loose curls. Her dress was immaculate. She wore a smile, slow, smug, poisonous. She winked at me when she walked past. I knew then that she wasn't afraid. Not yet. But she would be. The civil trial begins. Civil court didn't have the same tension as a criminal courtroom. No handcuffs, no deputies, no threat of prison. But in some ways, it was colder, more naked, more humiliating. It wasn't about crime, it was about morality, choices, consequences. Martin, my attorney, laid out our case with surgical precision. Evidence of the affair. Text messages between Aiden and Serena. Photos of them together at the wedding. My nephew Milo's testimony. Serena's hostile messages to me. The timeline showing the affair had lasted 3 months, but the most powerful moment came when Milo took the stand. He climbed up into the witness chair, legs dangling, swinging nervously. Lena squeezed my shoulder as he raised his tiny hand and promised to tell the truth. The courtroom leaned forward. Milo, Martin said gently, can you tell us what you saw at the wedding? Milo nodded. Uncle Aiden was kissing the lady with the red dress behind the flower thing. The gazebo? Martin clarified. Uh-huh. And how long were they kissing? Milo scrunched his nose. A long time. I counted to 30. The jury murmured. Serena's attorney objected, saying he was just a child, but the judge allowed it. Children don't lie for convenience. Adults do. Serena's downfall. When Serena testified, she attempted charm first. She smiled, tilted her head, acted like she was the reasonable one in the room. Aiden pursued me, she said sweetly. He told me he was unhappy. I thought maybe he was rushing into marriage. The prosecutor raised an eyebrow. So you kissed a man at his wedding? She shrugged lightly. People make mistakes. And the text where you insulted his wife? Serena rolled her eyes. I was emotional. And the text where you said, he'll always come back to me? Serena's voice sharpened. Because he will. Her mask slipped. The jury noticed. By the time the prosecutor finished cross-examination, Serena looked less like a confident femme fatale and more like a cornered fox baring its teeth. The verdict. Deliberation took 6 hours. At 7:42 p.m., the jury returned. We find the defendant, Serena Vaughn, liable on all counts. Damages awarded. $50,000 for economic harm, $25,000 for emotional distress. All legal fees and court costs. Serena's jaw dropped, her composure shattered. She turned toward me with fury blazing in her eyes. You did this to me, she hissed. No, I said calmly. You did it to yourself. The judge banged her gavel. Case closed. The slowest revenge. Garnishment paperwork began the next week. Serena worked a mid-level corporate job, just enough salary to make garnishment painful. She would be paying me monthly for years. Aiden's garnishment had already started from prison labor wages. Small amounts, but symbolic. Serena's checks were larger. Losing 15% of every paycheck was devastating for her lifestyle. Her online posts transitioned from glamorous brunches to thrift store hauls within months. I didn't celebrate, not out loud, but inside, a quiet part of me healed every time I saw another payment hit my account. Life moves forward. Once the court battles ended, the dust finally settled enough for me to breathe again. Friends who'd given me space began drifting back. Invitations trickled in, game nights, brunches, weekend hikes. I went. I let myself exist in rooms where people laughed, where betrayal wasn't the centerpiece of the night, where I wasn't the woman whose marriage exploded. At one of those gatherings, just a simple get-together at my friend Kelly's apartment, I met someone. His name was Lucas. Not perfect, not flashy, not a cinematic savior. Just real, steady, kind. He asked about my interests before asking about my past. He listened when I talked about art, about comics, about the collection I thought I'd never see again. He laughed easily, and he didn't push for more than I was able to give. We started with coffee, then brunch, then evenings spent talking until restaurants closed. He never rushed, never pried, never made me feel small. It wasn't dramatic or explosive, it was something softer, peaceful. The last encounters. Aiden was released after serving nearly 2 years. He called 3 days later from his parents' house. I answered because I wanted closure. His voice was thin, tired, hollowed out. I'm sorry, he said. I think about what I did every day. Silence stretched. I have nothing, he continued. No job, no money. My record follows me everywhere. My parents want me gone. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. I believe you, I said quietly. But believing you doesn't change anything. He sniffed, swallowed. Could we ever? No, I said gently but firmly. We couldn't, he cried softly. I didn't. Later, Serena tried approaching me outside a bookstore. She got within 3 feet before stopping. Garnishment paperwork had taught her that getting too close could be considered harassment. She sneered. I hope the money was worth it. It wasn't about the money, I said. It was about teaching you that people aren't toys. Her expression tightened. He loved me. Then why did he marry me? I asked. Her face twisted. She had no answer. She walked away. For the first time, I didn't feel angry, just free. Epilogue. Peace. 5 years after the wedding, my life looks nothing like I imagined. With one exception. I'm happy. My savings rebuilt. My career accelerated. My collection sits safely in a climate-controlled cabinet in my new home. A home I share with someone who treats me with respect and warmth. Lucas and I aren't rushing anything, we're just living. Sometimes, on quiet nights, I think back to that day, Milo's little voice interrupting a family dinner and detonating everything. It felt like the end, but it wasn't. It was the beginning. The beginning of a life I never thought I'd get back. And every time another garnishment payment appears in my account, Aiden's tiny trickles, Serena's steady sums, I don't feel vindictive. I feel clarity. I won.